Hey guys, it's Mr. Schmidt here, and in this video we're going to wrap up our look at externalities by looking at positive externalities. So you might have already guessed what a positive externality is based on the last video. So when we did marginal social benefit, we talked about how that's marginal private benefit plus external benefits to those not producing or consuming the unit of output. And we're going to give a name to those external benefits and call them positive externalities, right? So it's benefits being received by the person not consuming the unit of output or producing. It could be production as well. I will say you normally associate positive externalities with the consumption. That typically is how it's presented on the AP exam, just for your reference. Typically, a good example of a positive externality, I mentioned it before, is flu shots. So the idea here would be that if I know people around me have gotten flu shots, maybe I don't get a flu shot myself because I'm getting that external benefit from others getting the flu shots. And so that's not desirable for society. So in other words, there's a gap here between marginal private benefit and marginal social benefit. And that gap, which makes these two things not equal, is what we call a positive externality. So the question is, okay, so how do we model or show a positive externality? Well, I'm glad you've asked because I'm going to show you. So we got quantity and price, and then once again we have demand, but except this time it's only going to be marginal private benefit. You'll see why in a second. And then we're going to make supply equal to marginal private cost, as it always is, but it's also going to be marginal social cost. So there's nothing happening here. There's no externalities going on the supply side of things here. So where MPB and MPC intersect, that is always going to be the free market level of output. And then, of course, over here we could have the price. We'll go ahead and say that's PF. The price side of things doesn't really matter here for our purposes in this video. Now, because there's a positive externality, there is a gap between what is being desired on the individual level and then what's being desired by society. And so here we have a gap, and so marginal social benefit is going to be above or to the right of marginal private benefit, where marginal private benefit and marginal social cost, where marginal social benefit and marginal social cost, intersect, that's going to be your socially optimal level of output. In other words, what society wants to be produced. And again, we can do the socially optimal price over here. Doesn't really matter for our purposes. And so we can see there's an underproduction of the good. There's less being produced or being desired, being consumed, if you will, than what is needed by society. And again, flu shots are a great example. We need a lot of people getting flu shots to build up that herd immunity, protect as many people as possible. And so positive externality here is creating a gap between marginal private benefit and marginal social benefit. That's a positive externality. There's people receiving external benefits, in this case protection from the flu, that aren't actually getting the vaccine. Or the flu shot, I should say, I guess. Vaccines, it would work here with vaccines as well. So what can the government do? Well, the government can provide a per unit subsidy. They can give a discount or make those flu shots free or whatever they can do to close this gap here between marginal private benefit and marginal social benefit. That's the externality. And so by doing so, you would move the demand curve to the right. Normally we associate subsidies with supply, but they can work with demand as well. And so marginal private benefit would shift to the right and become marginal social benefit. And as a result, the socially optimal quantity would then be equal to the free market quantity, what's actually being produced and consumed in the market. So the way to fix a positive externality is with a per unit subsidy. Remember, you can't do a lump sum subsidy because a lump sum anything won't move a marginal curve. You need a per unit subsidy, tax, whatever, to move the curve. Again, just to remind you, typically we associate positive externalities with marginal social benefit, and on the demand side of things, Could you have it on the supply side where you're producing less than what you should be producing? Sure, maybe there's some kind of, like maybe with agriculture, you're not producing as much corn as what's needed, and so you give a subsidy to encourage production. You could do it that way too. But typically, as far as the AP exam goes, you're going to see positive externalities on the side of demand. And in any case, it leads to an underproduction, underconsumption of the good. Whereas a negative externality creates an overproduction or overconsumption of the good. That's an important distinction. So that's all for this video on positive externalities. Until next time, have a great day.